project.
Okay. All right.
Main, and then it has
Vice
the,
President.
they have the jack on the.
Trying to frame yourself.
You're,
Yeah.
I need your breakfast.
on the west side.
Make sure you say an extra one for me.
It's not on lot.
Thank God.
Get started. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for the invocation by Pastor David McMurray of the First Baptist Church of Blackwood. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we do invoke your presence here in this place because we need you. We need your peace. We need your wisdom. We need your grace on our lives individually and on this township collectively. So we beg for your presence and your power in our midst. Lord, these days many will be worshiping and yet at the same time, while some are seeking your face and opportunities to worship during this season, others are looking for opportunities to steal and to scam. And it's always amazing to me the coexistence of these things at various times. So again, we beg for peace and safety, that you would give law enforcement wisdom and alertness, and even as citizens the same, and that we would take collective responsibility to make Gloucester Township a better place to live, to work, to play, as the slogan goes. That we would take responsibility for our little space. We would do what we might to keep this place safe, to make it better relationally, and in all ways that we might have some influence. So again, God, we beg for your presence, your power in our midst, not because we're deserving, not because we are worthy, but because we are dependent upon you. So God, please bless us, please, with your presence. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Oh, thank you guys.
This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of the Township Council, established and adopted by the Township Council, scheduled designated time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. We're using electronic amplifying recording device in order to obtain audible and clear record. We request all those wishing to speak be recognized, state your name and address directly into the microphone. Recording device to be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office shall be the official record of Township Council meetings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Stoddard? Mrs. Strato? Here. Mrs. Winters? Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Mr. Bianchini?
Present.
Mr. Lechner?
Here.
Deputy Chief Harkins?
Here.
Cardamere?
Here.
Mr. Cantwell?
Here.
Mr. Cardis?
Here.
We'll have our first public portion, and wishing to speak on any agenda items only, please raise your hand, come to the microphone.
Mr. President, before we do that, this yellow, this is not on the agenda,
Yep.
that's on,
Yep.
on our laptop, so we want to explain that so the audience has an opportunity to perhaps speak on this if they're interested.
Yes, thank you, Council Vice President. We have a walk-on today, ordinance O-15-26, and this ordinance was necessary in order for us to obtain the Owens Corning's, or to authorize the Owens Corning's acquisition via negotiations. Dave, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. It is accurate. I mean, I believe also it's posted on the board, and I believe it was also on the website.
Yeah, let's put on the website.
What's happening is they're starting to move pretty quickly. You know, the township has been, and council has been working very diligently on this Owens Corning site to be utilized for solar energy. This private PV Navigator is the company that's going to do the solar energy panels. Is now moving pretty quick. They have time frames to move within to get the benefits of all the rate schedules and fees that are out there. We've been working to put this on. I have not as yet received the agreement from Owens. We sent it back for some changes. It's $1 purchase acquisition price, and then the township's going to lease it to PV Navigator John has been involved in all those meetings as well as Tom. So we put this on for first reading. If I get the contract, then we'll authorize the clerk to schedule it for second and public hearing, hopefully by the end of this month, so they can meet their dates in January.
Is there any question from council on this, since it's a walk-on? Seeing no questions, we'll entertain questions during the open public portion, but we wanted to make sure that the residents here understood why we were walking it on and the necessity of it.
And we did talk about this at the work agenda.
We did. Thank you, Councilman. So now, with that said, we'd like to open up the first public portion, agenda items only. And if you need some time to take a look at this, we can grant that, but I would ask that you include that in any questions if you have it in this open public portion. Yes, Pete.
Pete Heinball, Morningstar Court, Zecklerville.
Hi, Pete.
And thank you for reading that aloud, the walk-on, but I don't have any questions at this time on that. For O-15-19 and -20, there's some redevelopment and rezoning. Could you, I read through the text on the agenda and things like that, but is there a way you could summarize what we're doing there, what the changes are?
Karen, would you want to do that for us, please?
Ordinance 01519 is adopting a redevelopment plan along the corridors of the Blackwood-Clemington Road, generally speaking, from Little Gloucester up to College Drive behind the Laurel Shopping Center, and on the west to Millbridge Village, and to the east, Plaza Drive. And that's an overlay, it's going to be an overlay type zone to allow developers to have bonuses for doing certain improvements to improve the area, where they could use the existing highway commercial zone. But because the township in 1989 was designated entirely as a rehabilitation area, which allows a tax abatement program, we can plan for a redevelopment plan for this particular area. So the plan was done by Cannon Associates, planning firm out of central New Jersey, and there'll be a public hearing which hasn't been announced yet. It'll be after the planning board reorganization in January, though. And I'm requesting those planners that wrote the plan to be here for the public hearing. So generally, it's to allow bonuses for developers to try to improve their sites. There's several shopping centers that are dated from the 70s. Chances are the owners aren't going to do anything unless they're given a carrot.
Give it an incentive, yeah, okay. Okay,
And the other ordinance is amending the zoning map to show some of the rezonings that were recommended out of the reexamination report, the master plan, and some corrections.
all right, thank you. Another question I had is on O-13-25, which is tax abatement for the outlet property. I see it's a 5-year abatement with the 0, 30, 50 step up. So is there anything beyond that we need to be, so in year 2021, that'll be year 6 years out, there's nothing stopping anyone for them from paying 100% regular property tax at that time. There's no...
From my understanding, there's nothing that will prevent them from paying the 100% taxes. Am I correct, Chuck?
That's it.
There's no delays, like this temporary CO and things like that haven't delayed it into the next calendar year or anything like that.
No.
It's all straight up. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because this is an exceptionally large valuation, this outlet property, 58 million, that's all is the assessed value of the land improvements. That's quite a chunk of money that the township is getting for these next 5 years, that the fire districts and the school districts won't be getting anything until after the 5 years. And I know we do this regularly on all commercial development and things like that, but since this is a large one, Is there any plans or any discussion about sort of a gesture to provide the school districts or the fire districts with any kind of, provide them with anything during these next 5 years in lieu of this large dollar amount that's only going to the township?
There is none, Pete.
Nothing for the school districts over a 5-year period for this one property at the full tax rate would get about $3 million in tax revenue.
Not that we don't ask them to contribute on the appeals, so.
Yeah, and that makes sense with all the tilted kilts and all the Wawas and things like that, but this one's exceptionally large. It's all going to the township project, pockets.
And with the school district, this isn't causing more children to go to the schools. Tom talked about the appeals. I understand, we've had this conversation with the fire departments, that they may be providing a service. I understand all that, but at this time, we're going to maintain what we've always been doing, letting the pilot continue through the 5 years. They do get a portion of the tax that is already there on the land. So that land goes up, am I right, Chuck?
No, the land value is there right now. So,
Yeah,
so
that was-
starting this year, they have been paying the higher value.
Yeah. So they have gotten an increase in the value of the land. And that went back 2 years prior and so forth.
Yeah, well, it's there's no more farmland. So.
Correct. So
Okay.
they do benefit from that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, Ray.
Good evening, Council Repaldor Ariel.
Good evening, Ray.
Please bear with me. I didn't get a chance to preview that online. Comcast and I are not getting along very well right now. On the Owens Corning ordinance that you guys are going to be speaking on tonight, as a whole, projectedly, what does it look like it will cost the township in either acquisition or projected amount of costs would be incurred for a solar program if it's already been looked at? And I thought that was looked at several years ago when the Owens Corning option to GEMS was thought about. Do we have any idea what type of money the township will be looking to spend or borrow on this?
Correct. I think it's $1.
$1 for the land,
$1 for the land.
then we're gonna use a PPA, right?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
power purchase agreement.
Well, Mr. Pollock, you may be speaking about the lost revenue regarding the taxes that are being currently paid right now.
Well, there's no cost to the township for the panels or the operation. That's private. And the lease agreement, I believe, provides for a $48,000 a year lease. And I believe it's a 2% escalation each year. And I believe the initial term is 15 years.
Okay, so with the purchase agreement, nothing up front. It's lease, and at the end and do you have any idea what the length of that is? 15 years, 20 years, 25 years?
The lease is 15 years. If the township elects not to purchase the panels at fair market value, they have the option to extend the lease for another 5 years and continues with the escalation. On the 16th year, the lease decreases, I believe, to $20,000 as it's written right now. But we're still negotiating on the lease. That's not final.
Now, within that, is there any type of maintenance or guarantee? Because despite the fact that the market is telling folks that these panels are lasting 20 or 25 years, quite a few of them are not making that 15-year, and there's quite a bit of maintenance in other townships on their hills and bird sanctuaries, better known as landfills, that are requiring quite a bit of replacement and maintenance. At the end of that 15 years, if we acquire them, what type of deal will we get that's not going to be costing us for, let's say, several hundred panels at any given time within a budget year?
I don't think you can answer that because the township is not obligated to purchase them at the end of the term. If we opt not to, they have to remove the panels, I believe, within 180 days. And it's one of the issues that at least I'm looking at as far as a continued rent during that period of time. But that's how the agreement reads so far.
is that something that when you get into that negotiating portion you look at? I mean, if you consult with other towns, you'll see that there's substantial costs with these panels on such a wide array of those fields that's costing. It's something we should...
There will be a maintenance agreement.
Yeah, that's part of the lease also. They're responsible. All the maintenance of the panels, it's on the private contractor. It's not the township's obligation. They're just renting the ground. The lease gives them access to put up their panels and any easement, ingress, egress that's required. But the maintenance of the panels during the term of the lease and responsibility is solely on the private contractor. We're just collecting the rent.
Just making sure we're looking out for down the road where these panels are not holding up nearly as well as they had predicted that they would. And just a quick question in layman's terms, if you could explain, what differences are we making with ordinance 1518 with the hawkers? Hawkers and peddlers.
Oh, hawkers and peddlers.
The main, it's more of housekeeping. The hawkers and peddlers, as well as solicitors and canvassers, there's two sections of that ordinance. Solicitors and canvassers refers to those that knock on doors selling magazines and whatever. Hawkers and peddlers are usually the individuals with the sandwich trucks that park somewhere, or sometimes you see at parks or whatever. I don't believe you see too many of those in town, but that's what that applies to. The issue, the change, all those applicants that come in for their photo ID license, which they're required to, have to go to the Department of Police for a review. The ordinance was silent as to what was the criteria of the police review. So what question came in from some individuals, commercial entity that thought there should be one, so we looked at it very closely. And what we did is we took the criteria that we put in the towing ordinance for towing operators. We put the same criteria in here as to criminal background checks and what you're looking for. The only difference is we took the solicitors and just changed it to a criminal background investigation to what type of crimes. In the hawkers and peddlers, we did the same crime background, but we also did a driving record because they're operating vehicles.
So for a resident's basic knowledge, any solicitor knocking at their door, whether they're selling windows or alternative electricity, should have a township-issued identification badge. Is that correct? With a photo. Okay, same exclusions apply as always in the past with those that are not of soliciting nature, correct?
Correct.
All right, that clears that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne?
Joanne Carr, Timber Birch. I had a question about the Owens Corning. Why is it that we're purchasing it now when we didn't before? There was some reason why you did not want to purchase it.
Environmentally, we wanted to make sure everything was completed. And at that time, they didn't have all the answers for us, plus cat maintenance and all that stuff. So.
And all that's taken care of. We're not going to get hit with anything for toxins or anything like that.
No, they had, I believe they had a DEA letter of approval or of further action.
Okay.
So.
And if I understand correctly, we're renting it out, so we're getting the rent, where the people that are running the thing are getting the solar power, whatever, the energy, whatever from that. So our basic, we're just getting the rent.
We're getting the rent.
Without the headaches.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we close the first public portion. Bid report.
RFP for third-party administrative self-funded workers' compensation, excess workers' compensation.
Motion to accept the bid report.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Excuse me, who made the first? Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Baines?
Yes. Proclamation.
Whereas impaired drivers on our nation's roads kill more than 10,000 people each year and cost our society more than $37 billion annually. whereas 27% of motor vehicle fatalities in New Jersey in 2013 were alcohol-related, and whereas an enforcement crackdown is planned to combat impaired driving, and whereas the season at the end of the year is traditionally a time of social gatherings, which often include alcohol, and whereas the State of New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety has asked law enforcement agencies throughout the state to participate in the Drive Sober Get Pulled Over year-end holiday crackdown, and whereas the project will involve increased impaired driving enforcement from December 11th through January 1st. Whereas an increase in impaired driving enforcement and a reduction in impaired driving will save lives on our roadways. Therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Gloucester Mayor, Mayor of the Township of Gloucester, and I, Glenn Meeting, Council President, declare our support for the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over 2015 year-end holiday crackdown from December 11th, 2015 through January 1st, 2016, and pledge to increase awareness of the dangers of drinking and driving.
Thank you, Rob. We now have ordinance of second reading. This ordinance will have a public hearing. Ordinance O-15-16, amended and restated bond ordinance authorizing various improvements to the stormwater drainage system in the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $1,600,000, therefore authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or bond anticipation notes of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, New Jersey, in the aggregate principal amount of up to $1,600,000, making certain determination covenants and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. This ordinance will allow the township to fund the stormwater drainage projects, which include various improvements to the Broadacre Drive roadway culvert, replacement of stormwater pipe and head wall at 461 Hampton Lane, and the rehabilitation of the Danbury Development stormwater basin. We now have a public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing no hands, we close the public hearing. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Banky?
Yes. Now have ordinance, first reading. Ordinance O-15-17. Ordinance amending Chapter 47, Section 47-17, A, B, and C of the Code of the Township of Gloucester entitled Pets and Animal Abuse by adding subsection D, regulating the sale of dogs and cats from pet shops. As the title states, this ordinance will regulate the sales of dogs and cats from pet shops. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Banky?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-18. Ordinance amending Chapter 58 of the Code of the Township of Gloucester entitled Hawkers, Peddlers, Canvassers, and Solicitors Ordinance. This ordinance will complete the housekeeping items, including the police review criteria. Anything else to add to that, Dave? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Banky?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-19. Ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, adopting the Blackwood Clementon Road redevelopment plan in accordance with NJSA 40A 12A-1. This ordinance will add an overlay for the redevelopment and housing plan. Ken, anything else? This is the Blackwood Clementon Road redevelopment plan area.
I have nothing else to add.
Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Banky?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-20. Ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance O-03-03, land development, to amend the zoning map in accordance with the 2015 re-examination report of the master plan, BWD district, and signs. This ordinance will allow the township to amend the zoning map in accordance with the 2015 re-examination report. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-21. Ordinance authorizing execution of tax abatement agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Blackwood Holdings LLC Taco Bell for premises block 20101, lot 10 pursuant to C 441 PL 1991. This ordinance will allow the township to enter into a tax abatement with Blackwood Holdings LLC. Chuck, anything to add to that?
No, everything's pretty much out.
Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-22. Ordinance authorizing execution of tax abatement agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Sea Keys LLC, Hobby Lobby, for premises block 18501, lot 12.01. This ordinance will allow for the tax abatement agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Sea Keys LLC. Anything to add to that, Chuck?
Oh, they're all good.
Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call?
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-23, ordinance authorizing the execution of tax abatement agreement between the Township of Gloucester and David and Anthony Guzzo, Tilted Kilted Restaurant, for premises block 18612, lot 4.02. Again, this ordinance authorizes the execution of tax abatement agreement between the Township and David and Anthony Guzzo. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-24. Ordinance authorizing execution of tax abatement agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Grun LLC Fitness Center and Offices for premises block 7401, lot 19 and 20. Again, this ordinance is will execute the agreement, tax abatement agreement between the Township and Grun LLC. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Ordinance O-15-25, ordinance authorizing execution of tax abatement agreement between Township of Gloucester and Simon Priet Gloucester Development LLC for premises block 13111, lot 1. This ordinance will allow for the execution of a tax abatement agreement between the Township and Simon Priet Gloucester Development. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Before we do the resolution for consent agenda, I would ask for a motion to pull and table Resolution 364. John, there seems to be an issue with that.
Yes, from the numbers we got from the contractor, we did reviews and comparing some of the work on the site, we discovered an error, so we moved it to the number. And change orders for
Oh, okay. Well, can we finish this, then we'll go back and do the resolution. So we have a motion to pull 364 on the table it.
I'll make that motion to table it.
Second.
Okay.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes to table.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes, to table.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes to table.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. Or we're going to go back to the ordinance. Ordinance O-15-26. Ordinance determining the necessity to acquire Block 8601, Lots 4, 5, and 6, and Block 8602, Lot 5, in the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, authorizing proper officials of the township to acquire same from Owens Corning by negotiations. As the title states, this ordinance will allow the township to purchase the Owens Corning's property via negotiations.
That's also first reading.
And this is also a first reading. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. We now have resolutions of consent agenda. Any council person wishing to remove any of these, please let me know now. With that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes. We have no GTE Gov access questions, so we'll go right to the second public portion. Anyone wishing to speak on any subject, please raise your hand, come to the microphone. Ray?
Good evening, Council. Ray Holder, Ariel. Some time ago, we had requested, and you guys had done so for a short time, when discussing various properties for either abatement or redevelopment or what have you, that for the public's benefit, to mention some type of physical address or at least a street that would simplify, other than block and lot. If you're not a real estate agent, it's a little more difficult. That would be helpful to the public. Question regarding, I believe we have a few lighted billboards, electronic billboards here in the township. I would ask what the relationship between our township and these electronic sign businesses have, that we are broadcasting our township, and with whether it's happy holidays or just hello from mayor and council. What is the relationship with the sign companies and our township?
I'm not sure what you mean by relationship, right? Can you clarify that?
Is there a business transaction? Are we paying them to host, Good Day from mayor and council? Is there an agreement that when these signs got put on, that they're going to, throw that our way? I'm not quite sure how this.
Planning board agreement. Right.
Is the township paying anything to put that up on there? That's what the
If
relationship
you remember
is.
when we passed these, or when we had discussions on these, there was a certain amount of time that they would give the township to put information on, so that's what that is.
Information?
Am I correct? Dave?
Okay. Do you know what that time period is?
I'm sorry?
What is that time period?
Time period?
What is the time period for that they're going to
It's a flip,
inform?
you get a flip. I don't know how many flips there are to each sign, but
Yeah, I mean,
by the planning board resolution, they agreed that the township would be able to place an advertisement, a notification
Right.
of one of the flips.
All right. This is a basic question. Is there another meeting in December? Like I said, without the internet, I was lost.
28th, right?
Okay. That'll do it, and thank you. And very Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah to all.
Thank you, Ray. Good seeing you. Pete?
Pete Heindel, Morningstar Court. Just one question. The New Jersey League of Municipalities endorsed this, some proposed legislation that's in the New Jersey legislature that allows us, better, to quote it, says, would facilitate the consolidation of fire districts. So the League of Municipalities is endorsing this idea, and the Assembly and the Senate is hopefully going to act on it, have bills ready to pass to act on that. Where does the township stand on?
I'm not in favor of it.
So you have a better handle on this than the New Jersey League of Municipalities and the,
I think I do.
okay.
I think you have to look at Cherry Hill. When they put their districts together, it actually cost the residents more money in tax money. So I think that's what I know from my standpoint I worry about. It sounds good to consolidate, but it doesn't always come and equal savings. I think we have great service right now with what we have.
Matter of fact, if I can, Glenn, I was reading up on something that I think we might want to look at. There is a tuition credit program whereby our volunteers at the fire companies and their siblings, children, etc., once they volunteer and sign up for a 4-year. And what I think is, since I didn't know it, a lot of our people may not know this.
I think they talk about it at the fire companies,
Yeah.
but we've been doing it since the law was
I mean,
passed.
think about it. You can get a $600 credit off your tuition per year at participating colleges, whether it be Camden County, Gloucester County, whatever. And I think that the volunteer fire departments are working. Why would we go away from that? Just for economies of scale in terms of purchasing power?
I think if a study is done or some kind of analysis or study is done, and that's what we find, then yes. If we don't find that, then no.
I've looked,
Yeah.
and of course, that there's differences between Cherry Hill and Gloucester
Sure.
Township.
And we can go by their,
structures.
and we can learn by their mistakes and things like that.
But I think, Pete, if you analyze that, you're going to come to the same conclusion that I came to, that we have a very good working volunteer fire department. I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that.
That may be true. I happen to reside in Fire District 5, which is the highest of all the 6 property tax rates. And am I to believe I get better, if my house would burn, I would get better service from the fire department than someone in District 1? I mean, that's the part maybe we don't have to do a full consolidation, but something like that needs to be looked at. The rates are as much as half or less
But
in one district to another.
Isn't that something that the voters in that
Oh, come
particular
on.
district need to
70
address?
people vote in these elections. I've seen that. I mean, I hear what you're saying. In the perfect real world, in the theoretical world, that's the way it works. That's not the way it works, and you know that. It's not the way it ends up working. 70 votes are cast in those, sometimes less. And I wish it wasn't that way. I'm going to the 70, usually.
I just wanted to give you an answer to your question.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking for, that wasn't a realistic answer. I'd rather have a realistic answer, but thank you.
A while back, Pete, the mayor brought all the fire districts together to explore purchasing power. And I know they worked on a couple items. I'm not sure if that's still in existence, but they do work together. They cover for each other. So I think, it's just another added information, just so you know.
I do, from someone who knows more about this than me, or probably anyone else, Mr. Kibblesitz, has some issues with the 6 different fire districts. One of the big ones, it sounds like to me, a practical one, is that there's incompatibility of the equipment in some cases. In some cases, the equipment doesn't fit, in one district doesn't fit with the equipment in another district, and that kind of practical, something practical like that could be a reason to look further into this. Maybe not a full-blown consolidation into one municipal-wide district, but the difference in the tax rates, the difference in the equipment, some of these things, I think, we're not looking at like we need to.
Pete, have you brought this to the attention of the fire district commissioners that service your district?
No, I have not.
Okay, I think that, so that we don't step on the toes of another governmental body, I think that would be the first start. I mean, if you truly have compatibility questions and issues, why not start there? It's kind of like the Marco Murray sitting on the plane with Jeffrey Lurie. You should go to Chip Kelly, shouldn't you?
All right, I'll go to Chip then. Thank you.
Right?
Ray Paldo, Ariel. Just following up on Pete's conversation with you guys on the fire. Do any of you happen to know why the Ariel Firehouse Ballroom has sat vacant for this many years? That used to offset the cost of the fire tax for us. That ballroom was used for the sports organizations would have their banquets there. I think we have the banquets here at council now. It's pretty much what's amounted to. But does anyone have any idea why that ballroom is unused and does not produce revenue to offset the taxes for those of us in
I have no
Ariel?
idea, Ray, and maybe that would be a good thing to ask them as well. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else knows. No.
No, I know there were some issues with that catering hall when they were operating it and the operators of it and the individuals that were involved on the board at the time. But other than that, when I stopped by there on election day and I saw another use for it.
It's a nice catering hall.
It is, and there was a time, like I said, when we were doing Blackwood Babe Ruth baseball, or banquets there, Timber Creek Hockey was there back in the day, and it's unused and it's sad. Now, I have no problem going to Ariel and asking this, but you all know in the Ariel Fire Company, you ask that question to 5 people, you'll get 5 different answers. If there were no legitimate reason why it's this township, can township inquire of that? I mean, as a matter of, township collects taxes for the fire department, is that correct?
We do.
Okay. As that, I guess for the lack of a better word, the collector of those taxes, if we don't get an answer or justification of that, may we inquire back of council to that? Appreciate that, thank you.
Joanne?
Joanne Clark, Timber Birch. Number one, Gabriel Davies is now closed until April. Our season is finished. We had a marvelous open house. We had almost 300 people there. And we still had quite a few people coming through yesterday and last week. And we finally hit on the way to get the people out. So we have a lot of different things that are going to be happening there. We're going to be losing the powder room, and there's also possibility of the carriage house going down. So we have a lot of different things coming up. We were speaking together about Brenlock School, and we wanted to know, we don't know if it is going through with the school board, if the developers were still purchasing it or not. Do we have any answer to that? Do we know if it's going through?
Anybody on council know anything? I'm not aware.
All right, I had asked about 6 weeks ago for you guys to talk amongst yourselves, discuss it, and see if the plan did not go through, if we could have it put on the historic register. We could see about maybe making it a center for a welcome center for the township. It does have historic value and interest, and we're just afraid we're losing everything of value, and we're ready to put up reproductions rather than keeping the real deal. So I'd appreciate it if you would have the discussion and let me know what your thoughts are on it. I mean, if the developer's backing out and the school board still owns it, then let's see about making use of it. Okay. Okay. I had gotten a thing from the police department today about scams and everything and thefts. And I was happy to see that because it alluded to talk going around that there was a breach at different stores. I heard that myself yesterday, 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and what I was told, so that's just the rumor mill, was that just about every store at the outlets was breached, and you should only use cash. And I thought, well, I wanted to see why we didn't hear about it. And lo and behold, here comes the police department, who are right up on top of everything. And they said that that's just a rumor. There have been some things that happened, and I can understand why you would not name places, because that's not fair to the retailers and the people who want it. But I was happy that you did notify us and put it out there that but now, do we just pay cash, or are we all just careful with the cards, or what?
To address, so as Pastor McMurray started saying, this is the time of the year
Tis the
that's very
season.
busy for the police department on top of all the fun stuff going on. So the rumor, this time of year we get an increase of credit card frauds and ATM. I've been the victim of this, and there's no explanation of how they got my ATM number, and I wasn't buying anything at Nordstrom's in Seattle, Washington. So it happens. So we get the reports. It's nothing unusual, and it certainly is no breach at any shopping venue that I'm aware of. However, someone, I believe, who made a report maybe missed sometimes the officers try and help, depending on the person's age or whatever, and give them alternatives. So I think that they may have taken that the officers, that, if you pay cash for things, you don't have to worry about that if you're not comfortable using a credit card. But that just turned into a Facebook posting saying, that's where it started, a Facebook posting about that the premium outlets, security's breached, and that's just completely false. And other venues, it wasn't just the outlets, but they specifically mentioned the outlets in a Facebook post. Completely false. It's just, it doesn't work that way. Is there someone going around scamming, there's thieves out there, they're old, 15 years ago they were pickpockets. Well, now they have devices sometimes that pick up on the electronics of it. We're still trying to piece it together. There is no connection, I can tell you. And we just felt it was best today, since this was starting to get viral and we even had media inquiries, to put the best way to dispel rumors is put out the information that we know. So that's what we did. So I can assure you that nowhere in Gloucester Township, shopping venues, supermarkets, anything, there's nothing unusual going on. They are working diligently on it. Detectives are, and hopefully the next post we put out is some video footage of the suspect, and we hope people to see. So nothing to be concerned about, and it just got out of hand. So that's pretty much.
Well, I appreciate your being on top of it, because I know you put things out all the time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And I was happy to see your response to it, so that,
If you ever have if there was some type of thing like that where we didn't think that thought you should only use cash, we would certainly tell people.
Okay.
If you hear it from someone else, just call us and talk to us.
Verify.
But,
All right, thanks. Okay, and the last thing I have is something that I've talked about here many times before, but I see Chuck here, and I'm talking about our home values, the property values. Now, I have to let you know, I am on a perimeter block of Gloucester Township. The people across the street from me back up to Summerdale. And I've been trying to reason different things. I know there has to be quite a few reasons why houses are not selling, right? You've got the economy, you've got all different things. But I have to tell you, in my little microcosm of the world, in the unit block of Plymouth Drive, we have 28 houses. 4 of them are empty. 2 of them are rented. 4 of them are owned by single people in the house who are 84 and above. So now we're up to 10. There's another 8 who are owned by people who are retired. So we're up to 18 houses out of 28 that they're looking at this as their biggest investment. Okay? The vacant houses, the one man, God bless him, committed suicide. 2 were overdoses. And just last week, the lady 2 doors away from me is a Gloucester Township school teacher, was underwater, and she walked away from her house. So I have said about the school rating being low, so we don't have people from the outside coming in to buy. That's one thing that I've kind of identified. Another thing is, being on that last perimeter block, my mailing address is Summerdale. And if you look up the demographics for Summerdale, they don't match the demographics for all of Gloucester Township. And that keeps people from buying. So, I'm coming before you again to ask you to discuss it, to see about how we can improve our school rating, however, whatever, to get that going. And possibly, we've spoken of this before, getting a post office for Gloucester Township only. Even if it means we have to build one and rent it out to the post office. And that way we would have our own designated post office that might help us a little bit in our property values.
Well, I know many years ago I was involved with looking at, and it was actually before I got on council, looking at a post office for Gloucester Township. And at that time, I can tell you how long ago, Jerry Longo was the mayor over at Washington Township, and they were in this with us because they had the same situation. They do not have one post office as Washington Township. So talking to the post office, it never got out of discussion there because the people above that in the decision-making process of the post office would never do it. The amount of change that would take place and the amount of change to each town was to a point where to them it wasn't worth the change. To them it didn't matter. They didn't have any skin in the game, if you will, to want to have one post office. So I think, to be honest with you, something like that, we could discuss it all we want. I don't think it'll ever get up there or get high enough to make a difference.
Well, respectfully.
Can I just add?
Sure.
Was there, in those discussions, was there a price tag, and maybe Mr. Carleman and Tom we threw a number out?
I think up to like $5 or $6 million.
You want it, you gotta kick
Yeah.
in for it.
Yeah, there's,
And it was $5-6 million 15 years ago.
yeah, it was an unbelievable number that to put that money out because it just doesn't make sense.
Well, I know I've heard different business people who are lamenting the same thing. The new catering hall that's going up on Evesham Road, and they've got a Magnolia address. And it's like, here we're trying to tout business in Gloucester Township, and it says Magnolia. So I think the business people are pushing it, and respectfully, I know you looked into it back then, but maybe it's worth a phone call. Just to, I'm like, I don't like using the credit card, but if it's going to improve the quality of life for people here, it might be a consideration.
I understand. I understand your request, and I'll ask the clerk for the new council coming in to discuss that with whoever is taking over. But I think if you look at all the towns, I could tell you my wife, everybody knows my wife has a house in Berlin Barrow, and she couldn't sell that house. Partly is because she refinanced when everybody refinanced and made it upside down. Mm-hmm. Second of all, they have a great school district, so high. Eastern High School is highly ranked. Couldn't sell that house. Couldn't keep the value of that house where she needed it. So Collingswood doesn't have a great school district. But again, my mother's house, just recently we sold it, was worth at one time $300,000-400,000. We got less than $100,000 for it. So there's a lot of reasons, is my point. There's a lot of reasons behind all these things. And it's not just because of the school, it's because of how people finance them, it's because people bid off more than they can chew, it's because of everything. And it all comes together, and Dan probably could tell you, because he works with a lot of people, unfortunately, that have fallen on hard times. It comes together, and people get into a bad situation.
I'm just bringing it up because some of us don't have as much time to wait for the turnaround
Oh,
as
I
others.
understand. I understand that
And,
too.
I'm one of those retired. And I'll put it this way. My dad lives 3 houses away. He's 95. God love him, he has a goal to live to 105. So 10 years from now, I'm going to be selling his house. But once I sell his, I'm selling mine because I can't shovel anymore and I can't mow anymore. and the turnaround isn't fast enough.
No, I hear you.
So,
I don't disagree with you.
okay, well, have the discussions. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we close the second public portion. Polling of directors and council, please.
Mr. Wexner?
I have nothing to report, thank you.
Deputy Chief Harkins?
Only that we had our cops, Shop with the Cops, that was very successful, partnership with the schools. It was a great turnout, great day. Chief Earl is presenting to a Nat in Washington today and tomorrow on reforms of the juvenile justice, using our programs here as a model, presenting it nationally. Our SRO program and some of the Vision Center programs. So that's where he is. So just on behalf of Chief and the men and women of the police department, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and that's all.
Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Mr. Carter?
Nothing to report.
Cantwell?
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody, and nothing else to report.
Mr. Cardis?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Hutchison?
Two brief things. One, my wife and I were walking last night down Buttonwood, and through Ballantree, and just the town, or the streets looked beautiful. We were very impressed. One, on a side note though, we on our way down Buttonwood, there's a home that burned down, a 2-story, and we looked at it, and we looked at the beautiful houses to the left, well, really well decorated, and I just felt sorry for the neighbors. And I'm wondering, is there something that we can do to intercede, take the house down, so that it's not a blight on the community? I mean, we in the police department, we have this broken windows theory that, we're going to go after the littlest things and to prevent the spread. Is there something we can do?
We've done that in the past, Dan, but the house was a problem, a safety problem for the public. We have taken at least one place houses down because it was a hazard to the neighborhood, and they were probably none of them were burnout houses. They were just dilapidated. So I think we'd probably look into that. I just don't know.
I think it would be a great idea to have a policy. This house has been burnt out since the midsummer, I guess. We need to be able to pass some ordinance that's going to give the mortgage companies so long, and then once that date hits, we send notices and we take it down and we lien the property. It's just not fair during the Christmas season. These people have to look at that. It's wrong. Secondly, I do work with, Joanne, I work with people who are losing their houses all day long. And it's sad. But it's not unique to Gloucester Township. It's all over New Jersey and all over the United States. Now, it's particularly worse in New Jersey because the courts in this state have bottlenecked the foreclosure process. So what's happening is you're not seeing the turnover of the properties. You're not seeing a property go from 3 months delinquent to sheriff's sale in a very short period of time. Instead, it's probably taken over 2-3 years. And in some cases, if something's fallen through the cracks, it could be 5 years. It's not the fault of the township government. It's just a problem in New Jersey. It's a terrible place for a lender to do business. So we just have to bide our time, get through it, wait for the properties to turn over, and then we'll get back to normal. What it is. Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt?
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your comments, and happy holidays.
Mrs. Prado?
Thank you for coming out, and Merry Christmas.
Mr. Mercado?
I also want to respond to this car. One of the things that drives me crazy, and Mike Mignone and Tracy can tell you, during election season, when I'm campaigning, I'm going to different neighborhoods, and I see homes for sale. I've been in Valley Brook since 2006. I joke around, when you get divorced, you move to Valley Brook. So my plan was 5 years and I was out of there. Paid $180 grand for a 2-floor condo, 2 bedrooms. And now if I resold it, I'll probably lose about 35 grand on that property. And I just sit there. It's only Alex and I, my son and I, so I can't even clean what I have now. But there's sometimes I go in neighborhoods like, I can get that for steel, and it drives me nuts because I would lose money. But I also realized that I sold my house in Glendora to my ex-wife inflated, and I bought inflated in Valley Brook. And that's what the market bore in 2006. So unfortunately, that's the reality. And I hear you, and I see things, I'm like, I can get that, but I'm not going to lose money in order to get a house so I can have a pool with a bigger backyard. We hear you, and we see it, and it drives me bad. I want to thank the rec department. This past week had their Santa brunch. It was wildly successful as usual. Thank the men and women of the Blackwood Fire Company for the Christmas parade this year. The route changed. They went into the outlets. It changed it up a little bit, but still big crowds along Black Horse Pike. Last night was the tree lighting. A wonderful job done by the mayor's office, Public Works, and our police department. There's a carousel that's out. That's going to be running for the next 2 weeks, the carousel? I think 1 week. 1 week. Music out there, pony rides and Santa came, and Main Stage was out there. And then I also want to thank Deputy Chief Harkins for clearing up the information regarding what was happening at our shopping establishments in town. Sometimes people post things on unreliable social media sites, and there's never me culpa or I'm sorry or I apologize for misinformation passing that along. So I appreciate you clarifying that and putting that out to the public that things were not awry in our outlets. So thank you. Have a great evening. Thank you for coming out. Merry Christmas.
Mr. Bianchini.
Thank you to all the residents who attend tonight's meeting. Without being redundant, I thank everybody that Council Vice President thanked. It was a great night yesterday on the tree lighting and all the people that do that day in and day out. Thank you very much. It's a great time of the season. I love the weather. I don't like the cold anymore, so I'm happy with the weather. But thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. With that, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a great holiday season. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All against? Good night.
Hey, tell Anthony. Anthony did a great job in his interview. Yeah, we're glad to have him. Yeah. January 11th.